We've seen this very rapid growth of digital labour platforms, and I think we should not ignore the positive side of what they contribute to the world of work. Lots of income earning opportunities being provided to people, including for people who've had few opportunities previously. But at the same time, and you've mentioned some of the issues, they raise enormous challenges because they are transformational in terms of the way work is organised, and everything we put in place over the years to regulate work, to make sure it's done in acceptable conditions, doesn't really apply, or not automatically, to platforms. So, for example, that underlying key question, are digital labour platform workers employees of a platform, or are they independent contractors? That's a critical question. And then that flows into all of the other questions about minimum pay rates. Do they apply? Social security in these times of COVID, sick leave, all of these issues come into play. And frankly, at the moment, we haven't really got our heads around how to deal with those challenges. And that is precisely what I think the dialogue now has to be about. And it must be an international dialogue, because these platforms, of course, operate across multiple jurisdictions.
So what would you suggest? I mean, the British courts have just said that Uber drivers, for instance, must be given sick pay and breaks and minimum wage. Is that something you at the ILO would want other countries to follow suit in doing?
Well, what we've got, I think, is a pretty unsatisfactory situation now, because that matter that you've just referred to is being played out in courtrooms and tribunals around the world, not always coming up with the same result, I might add. And what we need, because this is a global phenomenon despite its geographic concentration, we need a serious dialogue about what the appropriate way to deal, to classify platform workers is, and how to make sure that they get the necessary protections at work. I mean, I think the underlying principle here is that what is acceptable, or indeed unacceptable, in the analog economy should be regarded as acceptable or unacceptable in the new digital economy. And we're just starting the conversation about how to bring that about.
I'm reluctant to use the phrase end of the pandemic, but I suppose looking forward on an issue like this, you have to consider this long term. How do you think this gig economy, digital workers, how do you think they'll be affected when the pandemic does come to a close, when the world does reopen?
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that day somewhat trepidatiously. But, you know, I think the point here is that we've seen an acceleration, I think, of the application of digital technologies to the world of work. It's made our remote working possible. It's quite difficult, I think, at this point to make the differentiation between what is temporary, what we've had to do, regardless of our preferences during the pandemic, and what we prefer to do, because we will have the choice post-pandemic. So will remote work become generalized? What do you want? What do I want? What does society want? So I think the important thing here is not to believe that there is a predetermined solution dictated either by pandemics or by technology, and sit down and say, well, what are the societal preferences? What do we want to direct the policy debate towards? We have the choice.